Hello and welcome back to Fiction Friction, a podcast where we talk about books, film and TV, and anything else we might want to yap about. I am one of your hosts, Bill.
And I am another of your hosts, Joe. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing today, Joe, on this lovely, disgusting Wednesday?
It's lovely here. It's lovely. No, obviously, Bill, it's a Thursday. Obviously, it's a Thursday because that's when the podcast comes out. So
yes, Thursday.
we do every podcast live. There is no editing involved.
Oh, God. That sounds like hell.
I mean, yeah, it would be for me because I have ADHD. But anyway, today we are going to be doing a reader this or that I found on it's a fangirlsopinion.wordpress.com. So thank you to that website for, we are a fangirl and we have opinions. I'm going to put them to you and then we shall discuss. So the first one is paperback or hardback.
Is this supposed to be quickfire or can I actually think about this?
If it's quickfire, the podcast will be over in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
So we're going to discuss them.
It depends. I love a hardback just because how great they look on the shelf, but admittedly, they're a lot harder to read.
Harder back to read.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I have a feeling you're going to say paperback.
I am going to say paperback. To read, a paperback is just lovely. Aesthetically, a hardback is nice. They look nice on a shelf. I love a demi hardback, the slightly smaller ones, and I don't mind reading those. But as I'm going to talk about a bit later, I've just been reading The Rose Field by Philip Pullman, and oh my days, like my wrists, they still hurt. I finished it 3 days ago and my wrists still hurt from trying to just hold that book up because it was just so heavy. I don't like them. I don't think they're very practical. Yeah. So yeah, I'm paperback all the way.
I think honestly a format kind of depends for me depending on the genre. Like fantasy, I feel very much more accomplished if it's hardback. But like something like a rom-com, why are they being published in hardback? I'm looking at you, Emily Henry. Like,
because they want to make more money, William.
I know, but it just makes no sense because people buy like a rom-com, especially to like take on holiday. Who's going to take a 400-page hardback on with them?
Well, what you do is you buy them at the airport from No, it's not W.H. Smith's anymore. That's what I was about to say.
In the
W.H. Smith's.
Airport and train stations, it's still W.H. Smith.
Oh, okay. It's not T.G. Jones.
It's so stupid. Apparently, they're different companies.
Yeah, it sounds like a jeweler's. Well, you buy them in the airport anyway, and then you get the trade paperback that is not hardback. I mean, what is not presented as an option here is ebook. And if I'm reading a fantasy book, it's probably going to be an ebook.
Yeah, I mean, I read The Wheel of Time as an ebook, which I definitely preferred because those books are ridiculously long.
They are. I've read 2 of the Stormlight Archive as ebooks because they're just unwieldy. And I wish I could have done The Rosefield as an ebook, but it's brand new and I'm not paying like £15 for an ebook. That's tantamount to being robbed. Anyway, so we're coming down on hardback, yes? No, paperback.
I feel like we should, especially if it's got a flop to it.
Not too much of a flop. I like the right amount of flop. I don't like those books that are almost like printed on card. So they're too rigid, but I also don't like one that's like flopping about everywhere.
Yeah, well, that's why I have my US version, and I think it's like just a good amount.
Yeah, see, that looks okay.
And it's still sturdy enough to stand up.
I've got The Sacred Space Between by Kaylee Reid.
I really enjoyed this book.
This is a US one, but it's the right amount of flop. There have been some US editions that I've got because I really like the cover, like The Idiot by Elif Batuman. But it was just too floppy. So, yeah. Anyway, the next option, I feel like I know where you're going to come down on this one as well. Bookstore or online?
Bookstore, obviously.
Bookstore.
I think I'll be very... I mean, sure, better deals online most of the time, but there's nothing can beat the feeling of going into a bookstore. And I feel like it's the same with honestly like clothes shopping. Like, you don't know what you're really going to get unless you're there in person. Obviously, books is a little bit different, but it's the whole vibe. Like, there's so many places maybe where you can get cheaper books in store, but like nothing beats the feeling of going into like a traditional bookstore.
Yeah, definitely. And also like, I just love like, I picked up 2 things the other day in Waterstones because I had a £10 voucher and I just sort of wandered about and had a look about and picked up 2 things. I'd heard of the authors, but I'd never heard of these books. And I never would have found them if I'd have gone online. I will say I am a big fan of the Blackwell's website because you can get US editions in the UK
Yeah. That's
now
why I
that
miss Book Depository.
Book Depository. That's what I was about to say. I went into a charity shop the other day and I opened a book and they had a Book Depository bookmark in there, and I just felt a little bit
But
sad.
I have so many of them up there.
Yeah,
So
I
many of
have
their
so
bookmarks.
many of them. Oh, I loved Book Depository. So, look, I am a fan of online book shopping for some things. Obviously, never Amazon. Never ever Amazon. Boo, Amazon. But no, we've got so many nice bookshops in Norwich where I live. We've got this one that's like on the top of a hill, and the front is like round and it's all glass and the windows are just full of books. It's called Book Hive, and it's just lovely. And I love going in there, and I love talking to the people who work in there. And I love talking to the booksellers in my local Waterstones as well, because we talk about things we've read. Because obviously, like, they will get advanced copies as well, so we can talk about like upcoming releases in a way I can't talk about with sort of my other friends who are readers. So that's really nice, and you don't get
Yeah,
that if you go online.
that's the thing that makes me so jealous. Like where I live, there's really not many independent bookshops. Like there's some in like center of Birmingham, but obviously I'm not really in the center. So it's like quite a distance away from me. Every bookshop near me is Waterstones, which is great because I mean, it's the Waterstones I used to work at. But I wish I had something a bit more close knit, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah. Well, I like independent bookshops as well because they normally don't just offer, like, no hate to Waterstones. I love Waterstones. I love that we still have a huge chain bookshop going that is accessible for most people, and I think that's great. But they will mostly only present you with like the most obvious options. Like it's going to be your Rich Dosmans and Dan Brown, and like it's going to be the big books. And you will obviously be able to get like independent presses and publishers in Waterstones as well. But what I love about my local independent bookshop, Book Hive, is you will find stuff in there that you will not see in like big chain bookshops. They have so many independent publishers and books in there, and I just think it's wonderful. It's really nice.
Sure. Yeah.
The next one is, I feel like we might differ on this one, is series or standalone?
I mean, honestly, in this day and age, probably standalone just because I really struggle to finish series and have time for series. But like then again, there's nothing better than like an amazing trilogy or an amazing series. But I'm probably gonna have to say standalone.
Okay, that does surprise me. I thought you would have gone for series because I'm a standalone girly all the
If you
way.
ask teen me, who had all the time in the world, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But like the series that I do read are ones that have been ongoing for years. It's very rare that I'll start a new one.
Yeah. Or I was talking to someone about this today, actually, because again, talking about The Rosefield by Philip Pullman, they have started the first one in that trilogy, which I think is very wise because the last book in this series came out 6 years ago, I think. There was a lot of Googling going on when I was reading that book because I do not remember most of it. But I know myself, and I know if I started from the beginning again, realistically, I wouldn't read this new one for 2 years because I can't do them back to back. I can't read a series back to back. I have to read things in between because if not, I get bored. And I
Same.
feel like I've been
Yeah.
reading the same book for like 6 months and I just can't do it.
I'm in the same boat. I did it a couple of times during COVID when I was getting back into like reading like very, very often. And I did it, I think, with like a lot of the Shadow and Bone books. And I reread the Mortal Instruments within like the space of a month. But I feel the same, and like I need to split. That's kind of for everything in the life. I need that balance where if I'm writing something in one genre, the next thing I write has to be something completely different. Otherwise, I'm just like, I feel like I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And I think it comes the same for series.
Although it is to my detriment as well because I just don't remember anything that happens. Like I feel like 6 years is excusable. Like I can get away with it because it's been 6 years since the last one. But there were some people who were cropping up and I was like, I don't have a fucking idea who this person is. I do love a series that doesn't feel like a series. Like Roots of Chaos. Like you could probably read those
Yeah.
back to back. Same with the Slow Horses books. I've been reading through those because I really love the TV show. And they don't there's like they'll mention events, but you could maybe just pick up like book 4 and not have read book 3 and it would probably be fine.
Yeah, kind of like interconnected. But like if you do read them like in order or whatever, you're gonna get a lot more satisfaction than someone who doesn't. But this is why I think it's Susan Dennard who wrote the Truth Witch series, and she wrote something else. Her, I
The
believe.
luminaries, the luminaries.
Yes, 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 yes. I believe it's her that I know she does have it for the Truth Witch series. Like she has actual recaps on her website, which I think more authors need to do, especially fantasy where so
Mm,
much shit happens. I really would like that because then I have to see if it's popular enough. Obviously, there's going to be YouTube videos of people doing recaps, but
yeah.
sometimes, I mean, most books don't get that privilege. So,
Well,
yeah,
yeah. When I
people
read
authors.
when I went into the third Stormlight book, I watched like a 40-minute recap video of the preceding two books. So like one
Mhm.
40-minute video for The Way of Kings, and then one 40-minute video for whatever the second one is called. Talking about the Rose Field again, there is a page at the front, and it was like previously, and I was like, amazing. But all it does is give you the last page of the second book. And I was like,
Oh,
this is no help, Philip. I remember that because it was the last thing that happened. But I don't
yeah.
remember everything that happened in this 700-page book from 6 years ago. Like I remember general plot points, but I don't remember all the characters. I wish more fantasy books had character lists. It's a thing I wish would happen. This book, I think, really would have benefited from having a character list.
The Rosefield, yes.
Yeah.
Something that is so like when there's so many books in that world as well, it can get really confusing.
Yeah. Okay, the next one is sci-fi or fantasy. I know what you're going to say for this one, I feel.
I mean, I really do love both. I have to have sci-fi in short bursts because most sci-fi I think that's published is a little bit too complex for me just to read for fun. So I'm going to say fantasy, which
Yeah.
obviously, and I know you're going to say fantasy too.
I am going to say fantasy, but I do like reading sci-fi, but I feel like we've spoken about it already on this podcast, but there is something strange about reading sci-fi, and I can't pinpoint what it is. I think well, we've said previously, I think because sci-fi is a very visual genre. But to be fair, fantasy is the same. But for me, in my head, the only thing I can put it down to, and I think I have already said this, is there is something really strange about reading about these grand sci-fi worlds that are so technological, but reading it in something as tactile and something as old-fashioned as like a print book. Maybe I need to do all of my sci-fi reading on an e-reader.
I think it's kind of just the whole process of like I've tried writing sci-fi in the past and you can get so carried away with so much stuff like technological stuff and then the more you add of that the more it gets harder for the reader to comprehend because it is so different to the act of reading something, and that's why I think sci-fi ends up being a lot more accessible via film, TV, like a more visual type of media because yes, you can name something or like a process or like something in the ship, but you don't really need to comprehend what that means because you can see it.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're reading stuff, you can some people can visualize it in their head, but you have to really be able to describe it well for someone to be able to visualize it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, like I've also already said, I'm not a visual reader. So when I read some sci-fi things, I'm like, what are you talking about? I've got no
Yeah,
idea what you're talking about. The next one is audiobook or physical book.
physical book.
Yeah, I do agree. Although I love audiobooks, but for me, I have to have the right narrator. If I don't like the narrator, I'm going to zone out or I'm just not going to be able to listen to it. One in recent memory, the narrator really, really, really sounded like Ellen DeGeneres. And it was all I could think about. And I checked twice. I was like, is this Ellen DeGeneres? And I checked and I was like, no,
Mhm.
it's not. No, it's not. And then I listened for another hour and I was like, surely this must be. But it wasn't. I was like, what? To be fair, though, why would Ellen DeGeneres be narrating the audiobook to Bel Canto by Anne Patchett? But
She's got time.
I had to return it. It was on Libby. Also, not enough people know about Libby whilst we're talking about this. So Libby, you know about Libby, but I'm going to explain for the people. Libby is an app you can download. You sign in with your library card, and then you can borrow whatever audiobook they have in your local library's catalogue. And you can also have more than one library card signed in at a time. The amount of people I tell about Libby and they've never heard of it before, it's such a wonderful, wonderful thing. And not that many people know about it. And it's completely free. I've listened to so many audiobooks on Libby. I think it's wonderful.
I mean, I do love an audiobook. Like, I don't constantly listen to them, but like, especially if I'm like really in a slump, I find audiobooks such like a great gateway to getting back into reading. And also sometimes if I want to read like two books at once, I struggle doing that if they're both physical. So I'll do one audio, one physical, and it's such like a life hack.
I always have an audiobook on the go. They are really, but I do a lot of housework and a lot of walking. So they are very handy, but yeah, I do have to find the right one. So basically we're saying both. We're saying both for this one. We are
Yeah, we're
getting rid
cheating.
of the concept of this or that and just saying we like both. I know exactly what you're going to say for the next one.
Okay,
Indoor or outdoor?
outdoor.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that one.
That's just because I read so much more in the summer where I can sit outside and read. I don't know. Like I love like the aesthetic of reading inside when it's raining, but I don't know. I think it's purely because I work inside and I'd read in my room, but like
Mm.
outside, I can take my laptop out there, but you're annoyed with like the sun on the screen and everything, and that's just like my escape, if that makes sense.
Well, also, if I try and read inside, all of my stuff is here, and I'm just going to get
Yeah,
distracted.
you
I'm
get
going to go on my
distracted.
phone,
Yeah,
or I'm going to turn my PlayStation on, or I'm going to be like, oh, what's that thing over there? I haven't looked at that in a while, and I just get so distracted. It's why the only productive place I can read in the house is the bath. Because I can get in a tub of water, which means I can't run across the room to get my phone. I leave my phone in another room, I shut the door, I get in the bath, and then I read like 100 pages in an hour. But anywhere else in the house, I just can't do it because I'm just surrounded by
and then
things
you're
that.
freezing at the end of it because you've been in the bath for so
And
long.
like a little shriveled prune. I
Yes.
look like an old wizened grandpa. Next one is it kind of ties in is morning or night, or well, day or night, really.
For reading,
Yeah.
I don't know. What's yours?
Mine is night. I really struggle to read in the day in the house. If I take myself to like a cafe or I get in the bath during the day, then I can do it. But reading, like if I would just sit in this chair right now and read, it would feel weird to me. I would feel like there was other stuff I have to be getting on with.
Yeah, I mean that actually. Yeah, night. Unless it's the summer, then I love reading outside in the day. But yeah, probably night because I do most of my reading in bed. So yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, unless it's the summer and we just forget all our other duties and obligations and just do whatever we want. The next one is binge read or slow read.
It depends on the book. Like, if a book is
Mm,
great and I don't want to get spoiled, it will be a binge read. Like, it's
yeah,
happened in the past where I'm like, this book, I know spoilers are going to be out there in like 5 seconds, and in the book world, if you're on any of the apps, you're at risk. So I will try and binge read. But saying that, sometimes I'll pre-order a book ready to read it, and then I don't read it for like 2 years. So it that kind of goes
yeah.
out the window.
I struggle to binge read anyway because after a while I'm just going to get restless and want to do something else. However, that being said, I've been reading Down Cemetery Road by Mick Herron, same author of Slow Horses, and I'm barreling through it. I've nearly read it in 2 days because I just want to know what happens. So it's been a while. It's really been a while since I've read anything like that where I'm just like, I have to know. Like my train got to the last stop yesterday and I had to get off and I was like, oh, damn it, I wanted to finish this chapter. And there have been a couple of times when I've been reading it and I've genuinely been shocked because there
Yeah.
has been a twist and that hasn't happened in a long time for me. So yeah, the older I get, the slower I read. You know, that's just because my attention span is getting worse.
Yeah, I
What
feel the
I'm what
same.
I am not a fan of are those people who say that you have to read a book slowly to fully comprehend or understand it.
Yeah, I mean that's gonna differ the type of book as well. Sometimes a
Mm.
book doesn't have all these hidden layers and meanings. It's just very straightforward, easy reading. And like,
Well,
why
yeah,
would you
like
slowly read that?
this book, Down Cemetery Road, that I'm reading at the moment, it's not like that. It's not got hidden meaning. It's just a really well told, like espionage type thriller, which I'm really enjoying. But to take my time with it, I think I'd just get bored because,
Yeah,
like, the idea is this book is propelling you to the next big event and the next twist, and that's what the author wants you to do. I got blocked by someone on Instagram recently because they put out that whole like, oh, people on BookTok aren't reading properly, they're not sitting with the books. And do you know what? I do think there are some people on the internet who do that, but I don't think it's exclusive to TikTok. I think they're going to do that on Instagram, on YouTube.
yeah,
And I was not mean or confrontational. I just commented on the post and I said, this is, this argument is getting a bit tiring now. You can't blame a whole community full of hundreds of thousands of people who are posting completely and wildly different content all across the board, you can't blame a whole community for something like that. That just isn't
Yeah.
how it works. And he just blocked me. So, oh well.
Well,
Anyway, the next one is books that make you cry or books that make you laugh. How often do you laugh at a book? I don't laugh at a book that often.
I mean, sometimes they'll get a little chuckle out of me, but like I
Mm.
can't think of anything in particular.
Terry Pratchett used to make me laugh. I haven't read one in a long time, but he did used to make me laugh.
Yeah, I think it's easier for them to make me cry than laugh.
Mm. Yeah, although I haven't cried at a book. That's a lie. I cried at a book last month. I cried at 2 books last month. They were really
I'm
sad.
trying to. I can't think of any ones that I've actually cried on, but it's definitely happened. Like, because I don't know, I just feel really bad for a character, and I'll just end up crying. But now I can't think of anything.
Okay, we're going to go on a little tangent. I've just Googled books that make you cry. The top answer. Can you guess what the top answer is?
Marley and Mia book.
Stop. Marley and Me was a book. Stop Googling. I've asked you. What is the top book do you think that made people cry? It's the really obvious one.
A Little Life.
Yeah. Which, to be
Yeah,
fair, I
that
did cry at, but I read that book far too young. I read that book when it came out, which was, when did A Little Life come out? Was it 2018? A Little Life came out in 2015. No, I would have been 18 years old.
darn.
Oh,
I've just
damn.
Googled it too. Did I cry at the? I think I probably cried at The Fault in Our Stars when I was like an early teenager.
Did you cry at Song of Achilles?
I don't think I did.
I didn't either. I didn't.
I cried at They Both Die at the End, but I was also like 17 reading that.
Yeah, see, I was a jaded adult reading They Both Die at the End, and I did not. Also, the title literally tells you, so I didn't find it that sad.
But to be fair, Adam Silvera does a really good job at you thinking like, surely they're not actually going to die at the end. So you do get really attached to those characters.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm not saying anything. Of Mice and Men. Who cried at Of Mice and Men?
Maybe if I'd read it by myself, but we read that in class, and it's very hard to cry when you're in front of like 29 other students.
Well, yeah, true. I mean, I didn't cry, but I found it quite boring. So, popular books to make you cry. Come on, Goodreads. Give us some. The Fault in Our Stars is top of this list, as is The Song of Achilles. They both die at the end. The Book Thief, I haven't read it, but apparently it does make people cry.
I cried at the movie, but like it's a lot easier to cry at a movie than it is at words.
Who is crying at We Were Liars? Who is crying at Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover?
There's the new Hunger Games on here. I feel like I might have cried there.
Oh, I didn't cry because
I was definitely very emotional.
I mean, I've talked about the new Hunger Games, but I didn't think it was as successful as the other books in the series.
Oh, I found one. You've Reached Sam. I read that on the train on the way to uni in like 2021. I was sobbing on the train. I don't know why. I think actually I was listening to the audiobook, which I do think made it more emotional for me.
So you were just crying with headphones in, like you're in a music video.
Yeah, I looked very odd. But
one day, I've not read it, but I bet that actually could make people cry.
If you're listening, let us know what made you cry.
Yeah, please do let us know what books make you cry. I mean, Before the Coffee Gets Cold, those books make me cry every time. I don't know what that man puts in them. I don't know whether it's subliminal messaging, but those books make me cry. Have you read Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner?
No, I do have it. I've had it for ages.
Well, I loved that book, but that really, really did make me cry. Really did make me cry. Anyway, we should move on. Do you like to have music when you listen, or do you like silence?
Silence, really. Like, if I had music, it would have to be like instrumental, like scores, because I would just end up listening to the lyrics of a song.
Yeah, I can't have words, but I do have to have something, because if not, I'm just completely aware of the silence. I put on, like, I just go on YouTube and type reading playlist, but then I try and make sure that I've found one that isn't AI, because there's so much just AI lo-fi nonsense on YouTube now.
Yeah, the lo-fi stuff I've never loved, but like, yeah, it's kind of the same when I'm writing. I will find something that kind of fits the scene, and like when I'm doing my Let's Pull Up stuff, what I do is there's loads of really great. They've taken like the atmosphere from like old Scooby-Doo stuff, and they've made like just our versions of it, and it's brilliant. It's so good for like getting into the zone.
I bet your family love you so much.
Well, I have headphones on, so it's
okay. That's all right. That's great. I was listening to an interview with Elif Shafak once, the author of like There Are Rivers in the Sky and The Island of Missing Trees, and like she writes these beautiful, lyrical, just wonderful books. And somebody asked her, "Do you listen to music when you write?" And she was like, "Yeah, I listen to thrash metal." Which I was really surprised at, because she's this just very calm, very well-spoken person, and her books are just like very like beautiful and lyrical, and you would not think that they were the product of someone listening to thrash metal, but I love her for that. I love her for that.
If people like what they like and it
Yeah,
works,
definitely. But it just proves like we all contain multitudes, don't we?
for
Anyway,
sure.
buying a new book or buying a used book?
I'd love to say used because that's just like good for the environment, but most of the books I get are new purely because I like pre-ordering and supporting authors.
Must be so cold up there on your high horse. Um, I mean, I do love, like, as we've already said, I do love going into a Waterstones or an independent bookshop, but I also should have mentioned that I do most of my book shopping, and what I do love doing is going into charity shops. I love going into a charity shop and then finding just out of nowhere a book you've always wanted.
Yeah,
And although I had a really annoying thing the other day in that I spent my Waterstones £10 voucher on a book, literally the next day went into a charity shop and it was there for 50p. I was like, damn it. If only these things had happened the other way around. But no, I do love buying used books. Also, it makes me look like I've already read them, and then I look more learned than I am. Especially when I buy like a Penguin like classic, and it looks like I've
yeah,
already read War and Peace on my bookshelf.
yeah. I mean, I definitely do still buy secondhand. Like all my Wheel of Times were secondhand because I have the American hardbacks and they're like, I think $35 to buy new, which I just refuse to pay. Um, and I've definitely got other things. Like if there's not too many charity shops around me either, but like if there is, I will definitely go in and
Mm.
look.
All of my Wheel of Times are secondhand as well because I went into a charity shop and they had like the first 6 and the last 3.
That is like the best feeling though.
So, yeah, so I got them all because it was like £6 for all of them, or however much it was. I can't remember. It does, however, mean I'm missing the middle 6. And I've been back to that charity shop. I've asked, they don't have them. So someone else must have bought them. So, but they're American paperbacks. So I'm going to have to pay more than I did for like 9 of them to get the middle 6. So that's annoying. But I'm going to wait until I've read those first 6 to get the next
So
lot.
my favorite ever experience in like a charity shop was not long read A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson, which I fell in love with. I adore that book, and it'd come out quite recently, like traditionally. And I was in Stratford with my friend Vicky, who lives in Poland, but she was visiting, and we'd gone to Stratford for the day. And we go into this, I want to say it was like an Oxfam bookshop, and literally brand new copy, but obviously in the charity shop, so it'd been donated for like a 50p, and I was like, you've got to read this. And now she loves the book too. So
Good. Well, that's also
thank you, Oxfam.
quite rare for a book to be 50p in Oxfam. My local Oxfam, it's I shouldn't badmouth the charity because they do wonderful work and I do spend a lot of money in Oxfam. But they'll know. The thing is, I used to volunteer for Oxfam as well, and they're one of the only charity shops that will check books when they come in to see how recently they've been published. So if they know that a book is brand new, which they will because they'll check, they will put it for more money. And I'm like, but you're in a charity shop, so I want to pay $2.99.
Unless it was an Oxfam, because we did go in a few. It was one of the charity shops,
Mm,
but 50p, and we're like, that's a
yeah.
bargain. She did also go buy like 10 books from Waterstones too, because
Mm,
obviously not in Poland.
mm. I mean, I do like going into a charity shop and seeing my own books that I have donated on the shelf.
Yes.
I went into a charity shop literally yesterday, and there was a book of mine on the shelf that I was going to sell but couldn't because my cat had chewed it, and a woman pulled it out and went, "Oh!" And she like turned to her partner and was like, "I'm not going to get this. It's full of cat teeth marks," and put it back on the shelf. And I was like, "What are the chances that this happened like right in front of me?"
I've
Anyway,
just decided actually that my next bucket list thing is to find my own book in a charity shop.
oh well, that will happen one day, I'm sure.
Like, because I feel like some authors could see that as like, oh my gosh, someone gave my book away. But like, also, who cares?
You're
I think it would
effectively
just be cool.
donating to charity
Yeah.
through many, many leaps of logic. Anyway, do you like to reread old favorites or do you like to pre-order upcoming possibilities?
I mean, I pre-order a lot. As not actually a lot. I think I've pre-ordered like 6 things this year. But I will pre-order. I'll read like new releases more than I reread
Mm.
old ones because if it's like when I say reread, it will be like I've not read it for like 10 years, so I barely remember the story. If I like remotely remember it, I'm gonna get bored.
Yeah, I mean, I think the best way to reread a book is on audio. I really do. I'm a big fan of that. I think that that's how I've reread all of Sally Rooney's books recently. I think it's a nice experience because it's a new way to experience something you've already read. But yeah,
Yes.
I very rarely reread. I'm constantly aware of my own finite life, and I just think, why would I spend time? I do think one should reread, and I do try and do it more than I have done in the past. But yeah, I'm just constantly aware that there's so many books I haven't read. So going back feels not like a waste of time, but I'm like, I want to get to all these things I haven't read. Although I do want to reread Hamnet before the movie comes out because I
Yes.
read that book when it first came out. I don't pre-order. I should, but I do buy books on release. So like when a book comes out, I will just, I suppose me being lucky that I've got so many bookshops around, if a book comes out, I know I will be able to get it on release from at least one of the bookshops in the city.
Yeah. Well, that's why like I'll pre-order mainly I'll pre-order to support friends and stuff if
Mm,
they're releasing a book because it does really help authors and publish it. Well, mainly the authors and just like their chances for lists and stuff. So if
mm.
anyone's wondering if whether or not they should pre-order, yeah. But like I won't pre-order everything because I love the feeling of going into my local and just picking it up for myself and seeing on the
Mm.
shelf, you know?
You will know the answer to this question, but it's something I've always wondered. Books always come out on a Thursday, don't they? That's not my question. So say you went into Waterstones on Tuesday and they already had it out, would that affect its placement on the list or would it not?
So if you didn't know, books in the UK come out Thursday. It's normally Tuesday in the US. Look, Thursday in the UK, Tuesday in the US, unless it's like a huge series, then it will also release on the Tuesday in the UK as well. Basically, how it works, the TCM chart in the UK goes Saturday night to Sunday morning. Yeah, that's right. So, say if the book was coming out on Thursday and you saw it on the shelf on the Tuesday, it still falls under the first week sale. So, anything from that Sunday morning counts for the first week. So, don't feel too bad. Obviously, it feels as an author, it's like something you have to get used to, like seeing it early, because especially this time of year when warehouses are just overflowing with stock, they have to send stuff out early. And then obviously, if it's not embargoed, booksellers have no reason not to put it out because they can't check every book. They'd be there in the stock room for hours otherwise. But yeah, if it's a couple days before, it's fine. And if you obviously are really conscious about supporting an author, yeah.
This next one, I'm absolutely baffled by. It's read every single word or skim. I am a big fan of reading every single word. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say I've never skimmed something. When I'm like 20
Yeah.
pages from the end of a book I just don't care about, I will be like, yeah, okay. But on principle, one should read every word, I feel.
Yeah. I mean, unless like your brain somehow skipped a word by accident, because brains
Mm,
do that. Like they
yeah,
just finish a sentence, but like you're not consciously doing that. But I know
yeah.
people do skim and like, mm,
Well, you're powerless to stop everyone doing something, aren't you? I will say, when I'm reading something like a Brandy Sandy and I get to one of his like 20-page long action scenes,
say I know you don't like the
my
action stuff
brain
too
just
much.
like glazes over. And you know, when someone like doesn't move or like move their eyes for like 20 minutes because they're just in another world, that's what happens to me. I just like glaze over. And then when it's like, and then the battle was over, I was like, great, now I'll start paying attention again. But I genuinely can't help that. Like it just, my brain just like shuts off.
Yeah. To be fair, whenever I've written action as well, it's kind of a similar thing for me. Like I quite like reading it, but like actual writing it, I think it's really difficult to try and make prosy, because it's just like this happen, especially if it's like a sword fight or something. It's happening so fast that it's really difficult to write that while also keeping up the prose, if that makes sense, without it not feeling like a list.
Or just like stage
And I think,
directions.
yeah,
I think there are people who are aware of that, because I think like Samantha Shannon, she's like gone on record saying she hates fight scenes, hates action scenes. So I think she does them really well. And I think people who are conscious of how boring they can be can do them really well, or they just don't include them at all. The next one is happy endings or tragic.
I mean, as an empath, I do love a happy ending. Like I love like finishing a book and like yay. But also it really again depends on the book, because I don't want my gothic horror to have a happy ending. Really,
Yeah, I am a fan of a tragic ending. It must be said, because
if the author has earned a tragic ending.
But in the same way, you don't want something that's been like horrific the whole way through to be like, and then they all moved to a house and everything was fine at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The next one is, I feel like you've already answered it. Well, both of us really have, is multiple books at once or one at a time.
One audio, one physical for me.
Yeah, that is, well, I do sometimes have multiple physical ones going at the same time. Mostly like normally when I'm reading a big fantasy book, sometimes I'm like, my brain just can't handle
I've
this
done that before
right now. So I want to read something, but I don't want to read this. So I'm going to read something a bit nicer.
Yeah, I will say if I do have like an audio and an audio and a physical at the same time, they're completely different genres as well, because otherwise I will get confused.
Yeah. This one is completely strange. Would you like to read aloud to others or be read to? I'm going to say neither. I want to be in neither of those positions.
I mean, reading aloud is I stumble anyway, so I just couldn't do it. Like I've been asked to do readings of like my book and I just refuse because it sounds like my worst nightmare. So I guess I'll just say being read to.
I think as like an author, like speaking as someone who's not an author who never has to read aloud, I do think you have to be really conscious about how much time you're going to take reading this book. I went to an event a few years ago, and it got to a point where I was like, is she going to read the whole book? Like, she read for 20 minutes and she just kept going. And every time you thought, like, she'd take a pause and you'd think, right, great. And you'd like bring your hands up to clap. And then she'd just keep going. And I was like, you have to be aware of, like, you just have to be respectful of how much of others people's time you're taking up by just reading this book for 20 minutes. I mean, she did eventually stop. And then the moderator asked her a few questions. And then the moderator went, right, and now I think it's time to hear from another of your characters. And she read for another 15 minutes.
Gosh.
It was just so strange. It was so strange. It was, yeah, I didn't enjoy that. Classics, yes or no?
Yeah, in moderation for me.
Yeah, I feel like that's very general.
Yeah, it's because also like people are going to argue about what counts as a classic. But I will read classics, but I do like, again, it's all about balance. Like if something's super prosy and like harder to read, I then have to supplement it with some like fantasy book. I don't know.
Some things that, and I'm not alone in this, this is just like a taste thing. There are some things I just find completely impenetrable. I've tried Tolstoy a ridiculous amount of times. I just can't do it. It's not for me. That doesn't make me any less of a reader.
Yeah.
But there are other classics I absolutely love. I love Little Women.
Well, that's my classic. Like that's the one I always have reread multiple times because it's just, I feel like very accessible for a classic too.
I like The Great Gatsby. I like Alice in Wonderland. Like, I think that's a very general question. And I think...
What would you count as a classic? Because I feel like most people are going to say something from the 1800s, but like for me, I feel like you could go as closest as like the 60s, 70s. I don't know.
I would even say like 80s.
Yeah.
I don't think of classic as it coming from an older time period. I think of it more of it as like, I would consider The Woman in Black a classic because it's
Yeah,
like an iconic classic of the genre. I don't think a classic book just comes from a distant time period. I think it is like an iconic book that has either come to be like a staple of the genre or has come to define the genre in some way.
we do an episode about what we think are going to be classics because I know it would get people riled up.
Mm. Well, I think Sally Rooney is going to be.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
definitely.
Circe by Madeline Miller. Like, I know you said we should do an episode, but I'm already saying them now. But I think Circe already is a classic of the genre. When you think
Mm,
Greek myth retellings, you think either Song of Achilles, which controversially is not my favorite, or Circe. So yeah, I think that's the classics. Yes or no is very general, but
yeah, I mean,
yeah,
everyone always says as well, like the Hunger Games, which I agree with. Like again, you think of dystopian Hunger Games, and
not also
it
just dystopian, but I think the Hunger Games is like a classic of not that YA is a genre like it is an age group.
this is a very interesting topic, though. I think we should do an episode
Mm.
about it.
Dust jacket on or off?
Off,
Off. I think people
off.
who read with the dust jackets on have severe problems.
And I feel like if they're doing it with it on, they're in a coffee shop just trying to show off the book they're reading.
Yeah, or they've just bought it, but then you would still take it off.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I've done it before, and then I've wrecked my dust jacket, and I'm like, what's the
Mm.
point? I have like actually my bedside table. I've just got a bunch of dust jackets in there.
Mm.
Not relevant, but I just do.
Do
It's my
you
collection.
store some books without dust jackets on? Because I also find that
Yeah.
strange. You're
No, I do
strange.
it for some of the Illumicray editions where they're
Okay.
prettier inside.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
fine.
like. Yeah, I won't take like the Iliad dust jacket off because it's just black, probably.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, some
that's
people
it.
do that for the aesthetic, and I suppose to each their own. To each their own. Dog
I like the
ear
colours.
or bookmark?
See, I've always said bookmark, but recently I've just been dog earing, and I really just don't care anymore.
No, see, I was having a conversation about this the other day with someone, and they were like, I like my books to be pristine. And I was like, I used to be like that, but it just is out. Most of the time, it's out of my hands. Most of the time, a reason a book is not pristine is because something's jabbed into it in my bag, or I've dropped it, or something's leaked on it. Like, it's completely out of my hands. I'd rather just read the book and enjoy it and not really care about keeping it. Obviously, I'm not one of those people who like reads in the shower because I think that is actually bizarre. um, like the older I get, he says at the ripe age of 28, the less I'm that bothered. I don't dog ear because I normally have a bookmark, and I normally have a bookmark I really love. My main bookmark that I've had for years and years and years is a one from Shakespeare and Company, and it's got a picture of a little ginger cat that's on a sofa upstairs looking out of the window that's at the front of Shakespeare and Company, and I love it. And that's normally why I use a bookmark. I'm not one of those people who can just remember the page they're on. I think those
No, I've
people are
tried, and it's ended
just
poorly.
not strange. I don't think they're strange. I'm just like, how can you do it? Like, you must have a far bigger brain than I will ever dream to have.
Yeah, I mean, I will normally bookmark because I normally read in my room, and my bookmarks are just there.
Hmm.
But
Oh yeah, I have a mug full of bookmarks. Here it is.
yeah, same, lovely. But like last week, I was going to London, and I got to the train station, and because I was just off deadline, I didn't take my laptop with me, and I realized I didn't have anything to do on the train. So I was like, oh, I'll go buy a book. And then I was at the till, and I was like, oh, I don't have a bookmark. I could buy a bookmark for £3 because they
Just
didn't
use
have
the
any free
receipt.
ones.
Just use the receipt.
Well, I didn't get a receipt because I wasn't going to return it. And I was like, well, I'll just dog ear it. Who cares?
Mm.
Because I think, yeah, I've also grown out of the need for all my books to look pristine because I do want to keep my books. Like, my dream is to have like a huge library, and I want it to not look like I've just bought a bunch of books from the shop for no reason. I want them to have a history, you know?
Well, you kind of answered the next one, weirdly, because the next one is keep or unhaul. And again, I think over generalization.
Yeah, I mean, I had quite a few videos on hauling, and I low key regret it. I did it more so for space, just because I'd
And
run out
sometimes
of
you have
room.
to. Sometimes you have to.
Yeah, and like some of them, to be fair, I unhauled, and then I've just kept in my loft to take to a charity shop at one point. I've just never got around to it. But part of me just wants to keep them now because when I eventually have my own place with enough room to have like an actual library room, that like a dream, I'd love to have like an evolution of like my taste in reading and stuff because I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I am a fan of an unhaul. Most of the time, the reason I get rid of a book is because I've read it, and I just, even if I'm trying to get more into the headspace now of even if I enjoyed it, realistically, like when I finish a book and I keep all of the books I've read in a month in a stack for when I do my wrap up, and then afterwards I either put them on the shelf or they go into the downstairs loo to be sent away to somewhere, be that a charity shop or World of Books. Literally before we started recording, a man picked up two huge boxes of books that are being sent away to World of Books. But I hold it in my hand, Marie Kondo style, and I go, will I realistically ever read this book again? If that is no, if I don't think I ever want to read it again, or if I think I can easily find it again for cheap, then I will get rid of it because I am at capacity always.
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
always at
same.
capacity. And sometimes I will, just when I really get to capacity, I'll just go through my shelves and be like, have I read this? No. Has it been on the shelf for 5 years? Do I think I will read it? No. Goodbye. And I try not to think about the £10 I spent on it 5 years ago. And I give it to a charity shop or I sell it on World of Books. So yeah, I am a big fan of an unhaul. The next one, and I think this is a pretty obvious one, although I suppose there are caveats, is this is actually the last one, I should say, is movie covers or originals. Although, so
There's been some good ones, but
I have the Dune, when part 2 came out, I have the Dune movie cover, and it's really nice. It's really, really nice. And they've only just actually reissued Call Me By Your Name without the movie cover.
yeah.
Because I do think that was really nice, even though it had, convicted felon Army Hammer on the
Yeah.
front.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's kind of obvious. There's obviously nice movie covers, but I think the majority of movie covers are not great.
Well, for example, talking about Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, they released a few weeks ago this beautiful poster of Paul Mescal and what is her name? Jessie Buckley. This beautiful poster. Like, I thought it was a painting at first, and it's him with his head resting on her shoulder, and there's all these flowers and there's greenery around them, and I thought it was a painting at first. It was so beautiful, and I was like,
It was, yeah.
that is what they're going to use for the tie-in edition if they do one, and if they do, I will get that cover because that is stunning. And they didn't use it. They used some random other one, and I'm so disappointed. So yeah, I feel like they really missed the mark, because I do think if a book you love gets turned into a film that you love, ideally, in theory, a movie tie-in edition could be a wonderful thing. It could be great, but they just slap some awful floating heads poster on the front, and they're like, great, that's it, call it a day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things. I think some movie tie-in covers I actually have a lot of like nostalgia for, and like they're not specifically nice, but like I think of like the Twilight covers. I was what 10 when was it 10 when Eclipse came out, and I remember reading New Moon with the movie cover, and just have so much nostalgia for that time that I really don't hate it. And I mean, the Twilight covers are so iconic anyway, but I don't know. It depends. It really
I
depends.
will say, I have the ultimate movie tie-in edition. I'm going to get it and show you it so you can see it. So for listeners, this is completely pointless for you, and I'm so sorry, but I'm going to go get it and I'm going to show it to you, and you're going to acknowledge that it is the best movie tie-in edition of anything ever. So we were talking about Little Women. Look at this.
Is it the Little Women one?
So
Yeah.
it comes with, that is like a short dust jacket, but look at it. It is the copy of Little Women that they make at the end of the movie, but it is also a tie-in edition of Little Women. And then throughout, it has got like these really nice pictures from the movie. But I just love it. I don't think they ever actually like properly sold it in the UK. And if they did, it wasn't for very long. But I think it's wonderful.
I assume they've actually got like a normal Little Women movie cover too.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't see one. And if they did, it probably had Saoirse Ronan on the front, so it's okay. Let's have a look. Little Women. I mean, this is a massive tangent. I must know. Yeah, they did, and it's awful. It's so bad.
Hold on, let me
It's just
see, because I might have seen it.
It's just a picture of Saoirse Ronan glaring into the camera, and it does not fit the vibe of the movie at all.
Ugly.
It's so ugly, and like bless Saoirse
You'd
Ronan,
think they would use the picture of them or the girls looking out the window that was one of them.
They've used that for the official movie companion. But I agree, that's a better picture because that's a lovely picture of them all looking
or the
out
one
the window.
where was it like one of the first promo images they used when they're in the snow walking?
Oh, they're walking, yeah. Oh,
yeah,
I love that movie so much. That. I love that movie.
I need to rewatch that actually.
I was about to say we should do like an adaptions episode, but we literally did that last time.
We just do maybe we just do a Little Women episode.
A Little Women episode about how much we love Little Women. Anyway, what we're going to do now is talk about one thing we've been reading, one thing we've been watching, and one other thing we've been doing. William, what have you been reading?
So the book I picked up last week at the train station, I'm still reading it. What's it called again? The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, which I'm really enjoying because it is basically a Agatha Christie murder mystery in a fantasy world. It's really fun.
And you love that.
Enjoying it. It is. I love a genre blend, and like I've not read a genre blend like that in a while. Last year when I read The Voyage of the Damned, which I think I talked about in one of our videos, that is like a similar sort of situation, and this is that, but a little darker. It kind of has a Knives Out vibe to it, and I'm really enjoying it.
Good. What I would love is kind of like a detective series, but like in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
Like I want.
Like, let's put forgetting every detective ever.
Like not like Poirot, but kind of like Poirot.
Sort of like a Lee Child detective.
No, kind of like an older guy with like a young assistant, kind of like Midsummer Murders, I guess. Yeah, a man. Why would a man be there? No, like think like Midsummer Murders, but like there's dragons and like. Did Terry Pratchett ever do anything like that? Because it would be perfect for that. Like I've not read all the Discworld books.
I've thought about doing that before. Like I think it would be really interesting where it's like fantastical murder mysteries.
Okay, well if you do that, then you have to credit me because I just came up with that right now, and we have proof.
I've got proof in my Scrivener documents actually.
Okay, fine. Anyway, the thing I have been reading, surprise, surprise, is The Rosefield by Philip Pullman. And I didn't like it, controversially.
Why didn't you like him?
Okay, so his Dark Materials...
Without spoilers.
Yeah, no spoilers. His Dark Materials is one of my favourite series of all time. When I think of my childhood and when I think of my love of reading from my childhood, from like the age of 9, 10 and upwards up to my late teens, I think of His Dark Materials. It is a series I have loved for more of my life than I haven't. I adore it. It, to me, is so full of wonder and excitement and just like joyful hopefulness. And it's so fantastical, so wonderful, so full of imagination. And for me, unfortunately, not the first installment in the Book of Dust, because I do think that sort of held that same sort of feeling, but the second two installments in the Book of Dust have been the complete opposite of that. They have been serious and dour and bleak, and they just don't feel like they are set in the same world. I don't feel like Lyra is the same character. This isn't a spoiler because it happens in the second one, which, as I've already said, came out a really long time ago, came out 6 years ago. Lyra and Pan spend this entire series apart. And for me, that was one of the main sort of relationships that made the original trilogy so interesting and so wonderful, was these two characters. And I feel like Pullman has set up this relationship where they don't like each other anymore, which again is not a spoiler, in the last book of His Dark Materials, the Amber Spyglass, she has to leave Pan when she goes into the world of the dead, and it tears them because, like in the book, you can't leave your demon. It tears them apart, and it creates this emotional rift between them. And he doesn't explore that at all. And I thought that would be really interesting to explore. It's not explored because they spend the entire series apart. It just feels so without wonder, so without magic. And I feel like that was what His Dark Materials was like based on, and it just feels so without that. And I'm disappointed that after all of these years of reading this series, you know, like reading the little novellas he's put out in the time in between these two series, it feels disappointing that this is what it has culminated into. I didn't hate it. I think there's some really nice conversations between characters. There are some really interesting characters, but I think it really suffers from that thing that a big fantasy book sometimes always suffers with, is it got so long that the thing that really suffered in the edit was the ending. You get all these big reveals towards the end, but they all happen in the last like 40, 30 pages. And you don't, as the reader, get time to fully understand what Pullman is trying to do. Other people may feel differently. From what I've seen online, I don't think they are. I think people are kind of coming to the same conclusion. But yeah, that is how I feel about that book, unfortunately.
Interesting. I mean, I only read the first book like when I was really young, so I really can't comment because I've not
Northern
read them.
Lights.
Yeah, it's actually I saw a video from I think it was Owen Hamilton posted it the other day about the Northern Lights, and boy, it's called the Golden Compass in the US, and I thought that was really interesting.
I mean, it does, to be fair, like I'll always know it as Northern Lights because that's what it's called here in the UK. It does make more sense for it to be called the Golden Compass because the second book is called the Amber Spyglass and the third one is called
Do you
no,
know why
sorry,
it's called the Golden Compass in the US?
no.
Basically, from what she was saying, is that they sold it to the US, and because they're on a different time, like, so they sold it to the US, and the US had then started marketing it as the Golden Compass. And it wasn't until they were like, oh, wait, that's the name of like kind of like the overarching series and whatever. It's not the actual name of the book, but they were too far ahead with
Mm.
promotion and stuff, and they couldn't change it to the Northern Lights.
But it does make sense because book 2 is The Subtle Knife and book 3 is The Amber Spyglass. So it does make
Yeah.
sense for the first book to also be named after kind of like the central like MacGuffin, if you could call it that. So yeah, I still have that. I'm not like those annoying men who say that The Last Jedi retroactively ruined all of Star Wars. I still have His Dark Materials. I still love that series. I really loved La Belle Sauvage, which is the first book in this new trilogy he's done. And I might reread that at one point, and I might reread all of them. And like I said, I do think I did myself a disservice by not rereading those two books. But I guess I was delaying the inevitable in that I guess I've read it now, and that's good because I don't think I'd have enjoyed it had I reread those or not. So it is a shame, but is what it is. Anyway, let's move on. Move on from that depressingness. What have you been watching, William?
I mean, I just rewatched a ton of Halloween stuff. Like I was saying to Joe, actually, we forgot to do a Halloween episode, which was kind of stupid on our part. But yeah, I watched so many of like my go-to Halloween movies. So I rewatched all of the Halloween Towns, which I adore. I watched a lot of the DCOM originals, the Disney Channel
I
originals. So I
love
watched,
a decom Halloween
yeah.
movie.
So I watched like the Twitches movies, which I
Oh,
adore too, and it always makes me laugh because the fantasy world is called Coventry. I'm like, that's down the road from me.
it's so
Um,
funny. It's so funny. I rewatched it. I rewatched the first Twitches a few years ago, and it is so funny that they're like, "We must get back to Coventry," and I'm like, "That is not far."
you pronounce it like Coventry, but it's
Mm.
spelled Coventry. I'm pretty sure. And I think the films are just generally like really funny.
They're really
Um,
fun. They're really fun.
yeah. Oh, and then Halloween Night, I watched Hocus Pocus, of course, but not the sequel.
No, well, controversially, I don't actually like the first Hocus Pocus, but I'm not going to get into that now because I
It's
am.
not my favorite film ever, but it's just such like a Halloween classic, and it's such a crowd
Yeah.
pleaser that
I
like I watch
find
him.
I think people forget how boring the kids are in Hocus Pocus. I don't give a shit about those kids. I want to watch. I want to watch Bette Midler, Kathy Najimy, and Sarah Jessica Parker being silly witches for an hour and a half. And
Yeah.
then those kids just keep turning up. And I'm like, I don't care about them. I don't care.
Honestly, when the Sanderson sisters were on screen, I was because I was watching with my mom, my little brother, and my aunt, and I was just saying as I was watching, I was like, they're so fucking. They must have had so much fun doing this film because they
Yeah.
just go all in on it, and it really comes across that you can tell that they're just having fun.
Yeah. Well, they are the best part. They are the
Yeah.
reason that movie is so iconic. And obviously they couldn't know that at the time because
hmm
they
And it got
hadn't made it
awful
yet.
reviews at the time, which is
Mm.
wild. It flopped. It came out in July, and it just like in retrospect, just like why the hell would they do that?
Yeah. It's like when the new Haunted
Yeah.
Mansion movie came out in the summer
So silly.
because
It's
they clearly
so
just
silly. And then they wonder why it flops.
yeah. Well, it's clearly because they're like, well, this is not going to make any money no matter where we put it. But I'm like, it would make a little bit more money if you put it in Halloween. I watched a very, very unseasonal movie on Halloween, actual Halloween night. I watched the last Mission Impossible movie.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I did. And it was great. I think it's 2 hours and 50 minutes long, which is insane. The first hour is nonsensical because they clearly are like, well, the last one came out a few years ago. We have to kind of remind everyone what happened. But once you get past that first hour, you just get some of the most insane action sequences I've ever seen in a film. And like every time you watch a Mission Impossible movie, you're like, they can't possibly do a more insane thing than this. There are two action sequences in The Final Reckoning, which is the final one. That were just insane. There's one where he has to go into this submarine at the bottom of the ocean, and it's just like I can't even. There is an insane moment that, as I watched it, I was like, "This is incredible." It's one of the sequences they shot on IMAX cameras, and as Tom Cruise turns the wheel to go out of the submarine, the aspect ratio like rises as he turns it, and I was just like, "That's insane." It was on a par with when Katniss goes into the arena and catching
Yeah.
fire, and as she goes
I
up, like
know, I
the
know.
aspect right. It was one of those moments where I was like, "Oh, that's smart. That's really clever." So there's that sequence, and you think, well, how can it get better than that? And then the final climactic action sequence has Tom Cruise dangling from a biplane hundreds of feet above like an African savannah. It's just I wish I'd seen it in the cinema because it's just insane. And I'm not endorsing like Tom Cruise and his you know his Scientologisticness. I don't really care about him as a person. I don't think he's a great actor. But what I do think is these movies would not have gotten made if he
Oh,
hadn't
yeah,
been
for sure.
like at the front of them. There is one that is terrible, and unfortunately, it's the second one. But until I think the fifth movie, they're not connected at all. So if you haven't watched the Mission Impossible movies, I just think they're really, really fun. They just
Look
don't
into it.
have any right to be as good as they are. Like I genuinely thought. So we watched. My mum and I decided to watch all of them, and then we were going to go and watch Final Reckoning in the cinema, which we didn't end up doing. But we watched the first one, and the first one is just like a good campy, like 90s time. It's very silly. They keep referring to the Channel Tunnel as the Chunnel, which I just thought was wonderful because people don't do that anymore. But clearly at the time it was new and exciting. The second one is just abysmal, which is a shame because it has Thandaway Newton in it, who I love. The second one is just so boring. But then after that, they just progressively get better and better, which you would think this shouldn't be a thing. By the time you're getting to the eighth installment in like a
Yeah,
schlocky, silly action movie series, they should be terrible, but they
yeah.
aren't. So it just blows my mind.
Well,
It just blows my
look
mind.
it at Fast and Furious.
Yeah, at Fast and Furious. I've never seen a Fast and Furious movie. Thank God.
I've not seen any of them except for some reason I went and saw Fast X without any knowing what it was. And I was so lost. And I was like, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous. But they're in space in a car that they like glued together so they could breathe. It was stupid, but very fun.
What is one thing you've been doing, William?
Not a whole lot this week. I've just been relaxing and celebrating because I'm off deadline.
You saw
went
your
and saw-
billboard. That's a thing you
Yeah, I
did.
saw my billboard, which was really cool. And that was the same day I was doing an event in London. So that was fun. Um, something very exciting is happening tomorrow, which I can't say what it is, but I'm very excited about it and very nervous. And then I'm just starting like the plannings and the plottings of something new.
But also,
So
one
I don't
thing
know
you
what
have
that's going to
also
be
been
yet.
doing is you've announced another book.
God, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, because it was all on like the same day. It was a very big week. Yeah, the final Let's Split a Book, One Last Scare, which is already written. I handed it in last week, and it's great. It,
Well, you have to say
it,
that.
yeah, no, honestly, I think the first two were all kind of like leading up to this, which sounds so corny, but for this one, the US is really involved with it and they want it darker. And I was really happy to take it there. And as I was writing it, I was like, shit, I didn't realize I was going to get it this dark. But my agent's read it. She loves it. My editors, I think, nearly finished. So I'm really intrigued to see what like notes are going to be for it. But I'm really happy with it. And yeah, there's a cool little graphic if anyone wants to see it on my pages.
Exciting. How exciting. So when I asked you that question a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, do you think you'll do another one?
I
You'd
couldn't say.
No, I know. I know. One thing I've been doing, and I'm going to use this sneakily to talk about something we want to talk about, is I watched the Scream 7 trailer and it was fucking
Yes.
awful. It was so bad. I'm sorry. It was so bad. Poor Courtney Cox just looks like she does not want to be there anymore.
I I mean, if you follow me, you'll know my opinion on what's happening with Scream. I think it's just really disgusting what happened with Melissa Barrera, and then obviously Jenna Ortega left in kind of solidarity. Um,
Well,
I
it
think
was
it's
for
just so
scheduling problems, wasn't it?
yeah,
That's
but
what
we
she
all
said. But like,
read between the
we
lines.
know, we
Yeah,
know, we know.
um, it's just so fucked up, and I think now they're just obviously going to Kevin Williamson, who's great because he wrote the original. Um,
Yeah, but he also
but
wrote 3.
yeah, it's just very obvious that
No,
they're
he didn't.
panicking.
That's factually incorrect. Sorry, he didn't write
Uh,
3.
well, he wrote the original, and he's
Mm.
done some incredible stuff. So they're just scared, and then they announce all these old characters coming back, and you could tell it's just damage control. And I don't know, it just leaves a really sour taste in my mouth.
Mm.
And I'll watch it eventually on streaming, I'm sure, but I don't know. It's just the whole politics of it is just really fucked up.
Yeah, it's really sad. It's really, really sad. Mostly because I don't think they would have fired, like, what was Courtney Cox's husband's name, for example.
David Arquette, do
I
we?
don't think they would have fired him for being outspoken about something. I think it genuinely just is because she is a young woman who's not white speaking out about something. And that's really shitty. It's really shitty. So I'm kind of glad that the movie is terrible. But also, didn't you say that the movie leaked online, like the script leaked online?
It was either a script or like
A treatment or
what's
something.
it like a yeah, kind of. Um, and no one knew if it was really true. But then basically the scenes in this trailer line up with this treatment almost perfectly, so it's very obvious. And that wasn't great. So we'll see. But I mean, Scream's always going to be one of those beloved franchises for me. It spawned my books
Yeah.
really, like that kind of whole premise. I mean, Scream is incredible. So it is like really bittersweet, but I mean, at the end of the day, I care more about a person than a franchise.
Well, yeah, and it's just a shame because I still actually haven't seen 7, but I heard it was really good.
6.
6, yes. I mean, no one's
Yeah.
seen 7. Yeah, obviously. I haven't seen 6, but I heard it was good. And it's just a shame that they've clearly spent 2 movies building up these characters, and Melissa Barrera's character is supposed to be like the child of a legacy character. So for
Yeah.
them to just unceremoniously get rid of them is just really shitty. And it kind of shows that they care less about the continuity of these movies and actually telling a good story and more about just making money. But that shouldn't be surprising. That shouldn't be
It,
surprising.
if anything, if I was Nev Campbell, I'd feel really offended that they wouldn't pay me for the previous movie and then wrote her off and said, "Oh, she's in a different city with her family." And then they bring her back when they need her and they'll pay her
Yeah.
the money. They've probably paid her so much fucking money. Um, but then they've kind of fucked everything because they say she's got like a teenage daughter when they
In
she was a
5,
baby in the previous.
she
Yeah,
has babies. I thought that when I
it's
watched the trailer.
they're obviously going to explain it somehow, but it's just strange.
What is kind of disappointing is that Nev Campbell obviously did one movie with these girls. Well, specifically with Melissa Barrera. Courtney Cox has done 2. it is sad that they haven't stood in solidarity with them and gone, these are, we were these people one day, young women in this industry, and Melissa Barrera specifically is sticking up for something she believes in. She's been fired for that. We should stand in solidarity with her. So I do find it kind of disappointing that they haven't done the same. And this likewise with the other cast members. I don't know whether contractually they were obligated to do this movie. I mean, that's not the case with Nev Campbell. The whole thing for me has been really sad because, again, this series was very formative in my enjoyment of horror. The first Scream was the first horror movie I ever saw. I loved it. And so it's the whole thing is very, very sad. Very sad indeed.
Yeah. All I know is that Melissa Barrera said she was contracted for 2 movies, but she knew their plan was for 3. So she was obviously expecting, and they'd already written a third one because they brought in the guy who did Happy Death Day, which I thought was actually quite a good fit for the tone of Scream. And he was going to direct it, and it was ready to go. And then he left in solidarity with her as well. And then obviously they've had to rush and do something else. The trailer didn't interest me at all. It just seemed like very safe. And if they do go down the whole AI route, it doesn't sound interesting to me at all.
I just thought the trailer felt like it could be for any horror movie that has come out since Scream come out. The thing about Scream that I always loved was just how fiercely different it was from other horror movies. This does not seem different at all. It doesn't seem exciting. Obviously, I haven't seen the movie, but the idea of a trailer is you show the best bits, and if those are the best bits, also it doesn't show me that they're very confident with it, that this movie comes out very early next year, and we've only just seen a trailer at the end of October.
Well, it's the fact that they released like a character list of who's going to be in early because they're like, we need to do some damage to control, and it's like, that should tell you enough.
I mean, maybe it's just because they've only just finished it. Like you said, they're rushing to do something else. What is exciting on a much lighter note is that the 2 guys who did Scream 5 are doing the new Mummy movie, which
Scream
Rachel
5 and
Weisz...
6.
Well, they did both of them.
Yes.
Good. But they're doing the new Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz.
Which is so fucking brilliant.
So exciting. How are they going to explain that in the third movie she was played by someone else?
I think they're probably going to just negate that. I've heard rumors that they're going to like brush over that.
Yeah. What was it called? Tomb of the Dragon Emperor or something?
Yeah, the not good one. I think I saw somewhere that they might just like ignore it. But the directors, they have a production company, Radio Silence. They're brilliant. Everything they've released, I've really enjoyed. Like they did Ready or Not, which I adored. Obviously, Scream 5 and 6. 6 I enjoyed more than 5, but very solid. And then they did Abigail, which was really funny too. I trust them with this, and the Mummy movies are very near and dear to my heart, and I'm very excited that they're trying to tackle that next, especially with returning characters.
I'm excited to see what they do, especially because obviously they've done 4 horror movies now. The original Mummy movie was quite scary in places. So
that's what I was literally about to say. Are they going to lean more into the horror of it all? Because I wouldn't be against it, but then again, if they do want to level up, do they make it a 12 so they can potentially make this $1 billion picture? Because I could see it doing that if it's like 4 quadrant enough.
Oh, definitely, because like the nostalgia is there for these movies. People, us included, love these movies so much. They are so iconic. So yeah, I'm just very excited. I hope it's good. We probably won't know for 3 or 4 years. It'll probably come out in like 2028 or 9. Who knows? But I'm just excited that it's happening. I'm excited that it exists. I'm excited that those 2 are coming back because
I hope it's a summer movie. It has like July release written all over it.
Because obviously we've had a Mummy movie since those. The one with Tom Cruise in it. Haven't seen it. Heard it was terrible. Which wasn't that one supposed to launch the Monsters universe?
Yeah.
That never happened.
That movie's not. It's not great, but I just love like Egyptian mythology anyway. That I did have some enjoyment of it because I think it's Sophia Boutella who played the mummy in that. She was brilliant, but she was just brilliant in a whole load of dog shit. So
it's not it's not hard to shine in a bad movie if you're good in it. Let's face it.
For sure.
Let's face it. Yeah, I'm just happy it's happening. I'm excited. I hope it's good. The people involved lead me to believe that it probably will be. So yeah, excited.
Kind of linked to Scream. Did you see the rumors about Scary Movie 6?
No.
So Scary Movie 6 is releasing, I think, June next year, and the Wayne brothers are coming back to direct it and write it and whatever, all the in between. But it's rumored that basically the whole premise of this one is going to be kind of angled off of Scream 5. So we're gonna like this because there's rumors that Melissa Barrera is gonna be in it, which I really hope she is because it would be fucking brilliant.
That would be
Um,
amazing. That would be
like that's just
so
a rumor.
good.
It would. That's just a rumor, but like it's supposedly that like so like it's gonna be like there will be like a Sam character, Melissa Barrera's character, there'll be a Jenna Ortega's character. But I saw somewhere, I think Sam's going to be called like Sarah or something. But then apparently the Jenna Ortega character is called Tuesday, which would be so fucking funny because her name in Scream is Tara, and then obviously she plays Wednesday. And I mean,
Yeah.
I believe it. I think it would be very fun.
I had actually heard that they were doing a new one. It baffles me that there's only been 5. I thought there'd been like 15 of them.
Well, they did 4 with the Wayne brothers, and then for the 5th one, they all let jump ship.
Yeah.
And it wasn't great. There's some funny moments in it though, because that was like Ashley Tisdale, Charlie Sheen, Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah,
Um,
I knew Lindsay Lohan was in
yeah,
it. Is Anna what's her
yes,
face
they're all
coming back?
in. Basically, all
Good.
the ones from like the original one are coming back.
Yeah. Because that's when they were good. Like the more
It's
recent
Anna
ones,
Faris
they've
and
just
Regina Hall, or is it
mm.
King? I get 'em mixed up.
No,
They're like
I'm sorry.
they're the most important part of those films, so I'm
Yeah,
very
yeah,
glad they're
yeah.
coming back.
I knew that they were doing a new one, but I'd heard, or I think this was more what people hoped it would be a piss take of like elevated horror, of
I think they'll probably touch on it.
Hereditary and like The Witch and It
Yeah,
Follows. You like It Follows, don't you?
yeah, I do.
I thought it was really boring, and nobody else agrees with me.
It,
That must mean I'm wrong. Statistically, it
It's
must mean I'm
more of
wrong.
the atmosphere. I think what It Follows does really well is just like that sense of dread, like anything could happen at any time, which as a writer is like something I really appreciate. But I realize it's not like the most like popcorn movie, which is why I'm
Yeah.
intrigued. See, because they're doing a sequel, which we'll see how that pans out. But I mean, never say never.
I think it fell prey to people doing that thing where they're like, oh, it's so scary. You'll be terrified. You'll be so scared. So I sit down to watch it. I'm not scared once. And so that does the movie a disservice. And I'm judging it on a level that I maybe wouldn't have judged it had it not had all that hype. And I'll never know if I would have enjoyed it without that or not. So,
Yeah, I
oh
feel like
well.
some of that comes down to marketing as well, because I felt that with both long legs and weapons, where they're really marketed, especially as like super dark and dreary and like really bleak. And like, yes, they have those elements, but seeing in that they're almost like comedies as
Yeah.
well. They're, both of them are very funny, and the marketing really misleads you in that, which I think
Mm,
is when people get disappointed.
yeah.
Saying that, I enjoyed both of those films, by the
I
way.
was going to say, Longlegs, I did think was particularly dark.
It
but
was, but then like it was also like quite funny. Like there was
mm.
moments where I was laughing. Weapons is definitely funnier than the marketing leads you on to believe.
Well, Weapons, I think they made the director of it. Is it what's his face? Something.
Zach
I know his
Krieger,
name.
yeah.
Zach Krieger. That's it. I was about to say Mark Creevers, which is not
Mm,
right at all, nor is probably a person who's ever existed.
sort of, kinda, yeah.
They made him make it less funny because apparently it was a lot funnier, and they were like, "Yeah, this is not. It needs to be scarier rather than funnier." But anyway, well, boy, we have spoken for a really long time. Suppose that needs to say thank you for listening to this episode of Fiction Friction. You can find me online at joe.reads on TikTok and joe.reads with 2 S's on Instagram because Joe
My
Reads was
line.
taken. I got there first. Where can the people find you on the internet, William?
You can find me at Bill Reads on TikTok or Bill Read LOL on Instagram because Bill Reads was taken.
Anyway, please do tell people about the podcast. Please do email us at fictionfrictionpod@gmail.com if a book made you cry, if you
Yeah.
disagree with any of our this or that's. And please do rate the podcast on any platform that you listen to it. That does help, apparently. Apparently, I hear if you give a podcast 5 stars, it's really good for it. I don't know. I guess maybe. Please. my children, they're starving. Anyway, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you in a fortnight's time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, you said goodbye this time.
Yeah.
Well done.